Welcome to Phantom Zone, the podcast where we dredge the lakes of hell in search of the worst the cinematic world has to offer. Then we put it on trial for its various sins against humanity, and should a film be found guilty, it will be launched deep, deep, deep into the far, far reaches of space. A Phantom Zone, if you will. I'm your host, Adrian Torres. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, Scott Daly. How are you doing, Scott?
I'm doing good, Adrian. I am ready to talk about some terrible movie stuff.
That's so well put. I couldn't have said it even better.
I'm glad that I've decided to podcast because I'm so good at talking.
Yeah, it's a good idea. You know, gets you over any fears or foibles you may have. Now. You know what? I am not entirely sure I can give the best sense of whatever method lies behind my madness when it comes to these films that we choose. I know that it confuses you the most of the time, and then you curse my name later on when I tell you what we're going to be doing. But sometimes it's as simple as seeing a cover box of a movie while browsing one of the various streaming sites, whether it be Vudu, Shudder, Hulu, Netflix, whatever. And I can see it, and it calls out to me. You know, it might be the title of a movie plus a lead actor or a featured actor even that's in it. More often than not, I know the bare minimum of what's going to go on in the film. You know, a little bit of the synopsis, usually what the rating overall of the film is. The lower the rating is, the more it appeals to me.
Of course, because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but we try to go in as blind as we can, just because it makes for a better experience. I know that I don't watch any of the trailers for it, and I don't think you watch any of the trailers for them.
No, I do not. That's bare minimum effort over here.
Exactly. Sure enough, for the most part, it keeps us unbiased and sometimes pleasantly surprised. It's a more entertaining experience if we don't know exactly what travesty awaits us. You know, that's also what happened with this movie, basically. I was on Vudu, of course, and was browsing the free on us section. And that way, not only could Scott and I be able to see it easily, but then if anyone out there in the world wanted to view it, it's there for free, and you can play along at home. And then I saw it. Snake Eater. The first action starring role of Lorenzo Lamas. And you better bet your ass that I was going to watch the Renegade's first ride. And if none of you people understand that when I mention Renegade, first of all, that means that you're very young. That also means that you're very innocent and you're a very special individual. Won't go into it a lot, but we have this wonderful thing that's called YouTube out there. All you have to do is put Lorenzo Lamas Renegade into it, and you will want to take your eyes out of your skull. It was a horrible TV show that ran from, I think it was 92 to 99, and it was created by the guy who created basically...
Wow.
Yeah, for 5 years. I don't know how.
Crazy.
It's the power of the mullet / feathered hair that he had. The intro of it is burned into my mind because it's a horrible image of Lorenzo Lamas driving down the highway on his Harley with a leather vest that's open, no shirt on underneath, and his hair just flapping in the wind.
He did very much enjoy the not wearing of shirts.
Yes, very much so, for his entire career, or riding Harleys, which we will get into. Vudu has a very, 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 very short 12-word synopsis to sum up the events of the film. A former Marine embarks on a mission to rescue his kidnapped sister.
It's accurate.
For the most part. IMDb gives you a little bit more, but unfortunately also gives away what the meaning of the title was, which kind of bummed Scott and I out.
I was very disappointed.
You should be. It says, the Snake Eaters are an elite division of the Marines, specially trained for search and destroy missions. This actioneer chronicles the exploits of one of them who has become a cop. Known as a tough loner, he returns to find the band of backwood bad guys who killed his parents and abducted his sister. That gives more information than the actual film does while watching it.
If you come to this movie looking for a man that eats snakes, you're not going to find it.
No.
I'm very upset.
See that you brought up a point earlier that you said that you were going to be disappointed in the movie if he didn't eat at least 2 snakes.
Yeah, and he ate zero snakes.
But you said that that's what defines a snake eater, by the eating of 2 snakes.
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone eats 1 snake. You don't call normal people snake eaters. You got to eat at least 2 snakes. Look.
Well, but shouldn't it be more than 2 snakes? Like if you eat 3, if you eat 1, you're eating it possibly on a dare, or you're like, okay, I want to try a delicacy.
Yeah,
I want to
try some snake.
Yeah, well, wherever you are. So you had it once. You try it the second time because maybe it's months or years later on, and you're either thinking, you know what, I really enjoyed snake when I had it the first time. I haven't had it in a while. Might as well try it again. Or you're of the mind that, you know what, I didn't give a fair shake when I tried that snake before. I'm more open-minded now. I want to really see what my palate feels. That doesn't still feel like it makes you a snake eater. If you eat 3 to 4 snakes, you can probably be called a snake eater, because after that second one, you're making a conscious choice. The first one's to experiment. The second one's to give the deciding factor. If you're doing 3 or more snakes, you're probably definitely a snake eater, because you're deciding on a regular basis, this is something I want to do.
Yeah, snake is now a part of my diet.
Yeah, it's just like the fact that we could be called sadists because of the fact that we continually see these movies on a regular basis. We saw one bad movie and we thought, oh, maybe this next one, it's not going to be so bad. Now we're doing it on a continual basis. We have earned that title of sadist because we know that it's going to be a bad experience, but we're welcoming it.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter because Soldier's not a snake eater because he doesn't eat any snakes. Imagine, if you will, that you sit down to watch a movie called Snakes on a Plane, and there are no snakes on a plane. That's how disappointed I was to find out that there's no snake eating in this movie.
Well, that doesn't matter because we will just jump past that, because he does at one point wear a shirt that says snake eater.
And he has a belt buckle that has a snake on it.
That's because he got to represent his brand. Okay? It's very important. First of all, the most interesting thing when you start out this movie is you'll notice that it's in full frame, which definitely harkens back to a different time. I thought that it was a sign of how fantastically bad this movie could potentially be, because it was the only way that it was available. It's also only available in standard definition, which is another sign that this movie should be lost to the ages. But some brilliant, fantastic soul decided, no, the good people of the world, they need to have their snake eater experience. And this movie is brought to us by the wonderful people of Canada, because it's my first exposure to this. In a traditional setting. I've seen a couple MST3K episodes that would technically fall under it. But Scott, let me ask you this. Is this your first exposure with Canucksploitation?
I think so.
Okay.
I couldn't think of what else I would have seen.
There were several MST3K episode, Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes that had Canucksploitation films.
I am embarrassed to admit that I have not seen an episode of Mystery Science Theater ever.
We'll talk about that off the air.
Adrian's mad at me.
No, because it ties into a point of the movie, and we tweeted it out a couple days ago. But the opening credits start, and I had to pause the TV because it said "and Larry Zonka." If you are a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, then you know from I think it's The Last Sacrifice or Final Sacrifice one. I think it's one of those. But they continually make fun of the main character's dad, the picture of him, because it looks like Larry Zonka. So it's when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, this is a sign. It's a Canucksploitation film, and it actually has Larry Zonka in it. This is going to be a magical experience. At the same time, while this is going on, and we're going to feature it somehow in here, there is the best / worst ripoff of the intro music to the Arnold Schwarzenegger film Commando that is playing over the opening credits, and it is glorious.
It's beautiful. It's like, I was so excited about this movie when that music picked up. I was like, yes, this movie's going to be awesome. And I was right.
It doesn't disappoint, because we're introduced to two non-important characters, but still lovable detectives, who are sitting in their car. And one of the first lines that we have between them is Larry Zonka saying, "We're on a stakeout. I told you 15 times, bring your own lunch."
I don't like none of these. Neither of these like I don't remember the names of them, but one of them has no idea what's going on, and that's just shtick. Even though they drove out to the place, I don't understand how they don't know what's going on.
And then Larry Zonka's character, while he's talking about things, decides that he's going to reach into the glove compartment, grab a styrofoam cup, and then pee into it. And then once he's done peeing into it, a homeless man appears and says, "Hey, does anybody have a quarter for a cup of coffee?" To which Larry Zonka just hands him the cup of piss. And the homeless man starts blowing on the cup because it's hot and walks off.
Doesn't seem to notice that there's pee in the cup.
No. I mean, he's already soaked in urine because he's a homeless person.
Oh, yeah,
so he doesn't smell the wafting of fresh pee, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. Like, to pee into a styrofoam cup means you basically have to take your dick all the way out. So he's sitting in a car with his partner, just showing him his junk.
Oh, I mean, that's what happens on a stakeout.
Apparently.
It's a bonding experience, you know?
It's very clearly the middle of the day, too. So, I mean, there's no indication that they've been on the stakeout for very long.
No. Well, we do get the sense that they've been there for a while, because magically over their, I guess it's police car radio, even though it's technically supposed to be coming from a wire, we are introduced to Lorenzo Lamas' character, who is singing Kumbaya. And then he decides to introduce himself as the soldier, because he's treating the wire as if it happens to be a radio broadcast. And he says, "Joe Kelly, former Marine, was found dead today from excessive masturbation due to extreme boredom while waiting for a drug bust."
I think Soldier's an awesome character. And I think this is the greatest introduction of a character ever. I love this part. It's so fun.
You're having your lead character give an exposition dump, but then they jump back to the car where not Larry Zonka is like, "Oh, I think this guy's got a screw loose." And Larry Zonka just goes, "No, I checked this guy out. He was a Marine, one of the elites. He was part of a covert group called Search and Destroy." First of all, if you're a covert group,
it's the least secret group ever.
People shouldn't know what the name of your group is. They shouldn't even know that you're in a covert group. All they need to know is that you were a Marine. First of all, it's a bad thing if everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that's what this group's called." You're not really covert. Everybody knows who you are. Second of all, like I said, later in the movie and featured on the cover art, Soldier's wearing a shirt that says Snake Eaters, and it even has a Marine insignia below it. So
they gotta make merchandise for their covert group.
But it says Search and Destroy on there as well, and then Marines. So somebody of the group decided to go down to the printing shop and was like, "Hey, I need 6 to 12 shirts made in sizes between large and extra, extra, extra large. This is what I wanted to say. Oh, what's this for, guy? Oh, it's for our secret covert Marine group."
Also,
no big deal.
It'd be really great if you could make the shirts like cutoffs, so like we need them not to be too long. Like I want a little bit of my belly to come out, just a little bit.
Sir, it's called scissors. You can make those into, shirts that show off your midriff.
You don't have time for that. You have snakes to eat.
No, they don't. We've already established that.
I'm so mad about that. I'm so irrationally mad about that. But it doesn't matter because I love this movie, especially this scene. This scene.
Oh, yeah, when the person does show up for the drug bust, it's a female who directly calls him Soldier right away. Because apparently he's going around telling everybody that his name is Soldier, or everybody just emphatically knows that his name is Soldier.
Yeah, they never say if these two have met before.
No.
I don't think they have, but she knows his name, and then they just bang, so...
Well, they have to... She accuses him of wearing a wire, and so they play a game of striptease, and then we see that they make the greatest fashion decision in the entire world, because Soldier starts out by wearing just a regular green army surplus jacket like everybody's seen, and all the people who are quote-unquote rebels choose to wear, and he takes it off and shows that he has a denim shirt that has the sleeves cut off underneath it.
He's a badass.
It's the most 80s rebel thing you could think of.
The thing that gets me about this striptease thing is how long it takes.
It's like 5 minutes long.
Yeah, and they just keep going, and you're like, oh wow, they're going for it. They're going like they're naked right now.
Oh, you mean it's like Larry Zonka says? I think they're going to consummate the drug bust.
Whoever wrote this movie, I want them to be my friend because I enjoyed it so much.
Unfortunately, their passionate lovemaking is cut short by the actual drug dealer who shows up.
The real drug dealer comes.
The real
not
drug
the
dealer
fake
who's wearing an ice cream suit, and then has an ex-henchman from Magnum PI, apparently. I will get a screen grab of this, and I will tweet it out, because the outfits these two characters are wearing is just beautiful. Like, it tunes you in to this movie not knowing what the fuck it is.
Yeah, but then we get to see all the traps.
Yes.
Did I mention I love this movie? Because suddenly... Okay, first of all, here's what I don't get. They bust in on the two of them having sex. They're naked. Suddenly, Soldier has pants on again, and shoes. But
yes.
I don't know when that happens. But he's got...
it happens... Well, because he's out of frame for a minute while the drug dealer's, talking to him about the situation and the fact that there's no drugs or anything like that. Then looks at his henchman, but he's talking to Soldier, and he says, "You're not the only guy I'm going to fuck over today." And I was like, is he insinuating that he's going to have sex with his henchman directly after this? Because that just seems like a really weird interjection to make while you're trying to hold this person, up for their money. You
got to consummate the drug deals, man.
I guess they consummate during it, and then when they successfully rip somebody off, they have to consummate it some way.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
So they want him to give them his money. He goes into the next room, pulls up something to make it look like he's going to grab a bag from the floor, but instead he hits a lever that shoots a giant row of spikes in the floor to pin the two drug dealers there.
Which, fortunately for him, also makes their guns fly out of their hands.
Yes.
Because if that hadn't happened, he would just be dead.
No, because then he gets their guns and he puts them in his pants. The girl ends up running into the hallway and gets caught in a fishing net.
So, I love these traps, and I was worried because we've watched a lot of bad movies on here, and in bad movies, oftentimes when they set up things, they don't pay off later. No. But his trappiness will pay off later in amazing ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something that I guess we should give the movie points because they do set up certain things that carry through the entire movie. You've got the traps that are there for the entire movie. The drug dealer and the henchman both refer to him as Soldier, so they also are in on the whole "that's what everybody calls him" bit. But sure enough, the two other police officers end up running in and are not keen and happy to see what Soldier has done. and and Larry Zonka says these two will be out on parole faster than you can put your cock back in your pants, which is awkward for him to say because he's already wearing pants.
Yeah. So I don't understand why they're so upset about this. Like, the guys were about to shoot him. They should have come out of the car and helped him as soon as shit started to go bad. It's their fault.
I think it's just because they feel that he's crazy, especially because 2 seconds later he ends up pulling. They're mad about the traps, and he pulls a lever that has a shotgun fall down from the ceiling that shoots in between the police officers, almost killing them. And then Larry Zonk gets really mad and says, "You're a fucking menace to society. The Marines were right. You can't take orders. You're an oddball. You're some kind of nutcase." And just the way he's saying it, like he's pausing between each of these, like he's trying to go down a list of all the different, tropes or comments that people have said before. It's just like.
And then he looks at the camera and says, "Audience, do you understand this character's classification yet?" And then we nod, so they move on.
Yeah, and they suspend him. So once again, that's another running theme that we have in these bad movies.
Oh my god!
Just like, except for he's just suspended for a much better reason than Ray was from Countdown. So
yeah, he's just getting the job done, shooting cops. There's no reason to suspend someone.
Well, hey,
they both shot at cops.
But the difference is one of them specifically shot in his chest, knowing that he was wearing a vest, whereas Soldier just fires it and could have easily blown off the head of one of the cops.
Yeah, I mean, they could have easily stepped one way or another, and that's dead cop.
Would have been a much more entertaining movie if he accidentally kills one of the cops, had to kill the other cop because he was a witness, and then he's just on the run for the rest of the movie because of a stupid accident because he set up these goddamn traps. For whatever reason, the movie decides, while this excitement's going on, we need to take you to a thrilling, slow-moving boat scene out on the middle of a random river. It at the end of the scene, it makes sense why it's taking place. But for like the first 4 minutes of the scene, it doesn't make sense. It's just a guy and his wife on a boat, and they're mad at their daughter for wearing a bikini while it's dark outside.
She's sunbathing at night.
Just listening to her music that's too loud. And then another sign that you're watching a magical movie. The boat stops, but it stops because it hits something, but the sound that it makes is clearly ADR, but it sounds like somebody just broke a pane of glass.
There's a lot of very bad ADR in this film. Obviously it's very low budget, but yeah, it was not good. Not good.
No. So Dad goes to check it out, and Mom sits there and just goes, "Well, I guess I better watch over dinner." And then she goes and she sits in the chair behind the steering wheel and just stares out the front window.
Here's the thing about this scene, and I think this is a problem that goes throughout the movie. It goes on for way too long. Like, this ends up being very important to our main plot, but only in that it sets things in motion. Like, you could have almost not even had this scene and just
Probably
have him get the, because I mean, spoilers for 5 minutes from now. This is Soldier's family, and they're about to be brutally murdered and kidnapped by random Southern people that have Canadian accents.
rednecks, hillbillies, whatever you want to call them. They all wear suspenders. That's how you know that they're from the same family, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of them has a mining helmet, which is never explained ever. I don't know, but they're the ones who sabotaged the boat because it's just their thing for anybody who comes on this river, as the movie lets you in on later. But they decide that they're going to take Dad hostage, or at least tie him up outside. The leader of the group, Junior, he and his brother end up having a very, very long conversation with the mom while one of them is eating a ham that they continually call pig's meat. And he's just, in slow motion, they show him sawing away at the ham like 3 or 4 different times for no reason. Junior is the leader of the group, the crazy ginger hillbilly, who speaks in a very weird tone. Would be like, he sounds like he's trying to be overly serious. He doesn't sound like any of the other brothers who are very stereotypical redneck. So
I guess he's supposed to be the normal one, I suppose.
Yeah, because that's exactly what you want to be thought of as. Oh, I'm the regular redneck. I'm the regular
yeah. Out of all these rednecks, I'm the smarter one.
Yes, I'm the smartest of the inbred ones, just because I was the firstborn. Therefore, my genes were less contaminated than all the others.
I guess so.
It doesn't matter. They end up finding
they're dead.
Finding the girl in the back room, and then they set fire to the boat, killing both the parents. Just because. So, and that was after they boiled Mom. That's still the part that I don't understand. They have the entire long conversation with Mom, and they shove her head into the boiling water, and then they still decide to set the boat on fire. Like, they could have just shot Dad outside, and it would have been fine. But instead, they're like, "Oh no, we got to light this on fire and have your daughter watch." Well,
it's all part of this weird thing where they try to blame a bear on everything that happens in the forest.
Which is naturally what happens when bears get on houseboats. Yeah. They're really curious, and they end up setting fire to it.
Right. They set fire to the boats. 2 people die. The bear kidnaps young women. It's just what happens.
Yeah, normally. It's usually the cycle that occurs right before they hibernate.
Oh my god!
The next scene, we see Soldier lackadaisically riding his motorcycle down the highway. And when I say lackadaisically, it's because he literally has one hand on the handlebars, and he'll put up the other hand for a second, but then he'll put it down and just have it in his lap, because that's the really cool way to ride.
Yeah, man, he's cool. Come on, you don't ride not two-handed.
Yeah. It especially helps when some random kid has lost his ball in the middle of the road and you have to veer off to the side and hit a giant pile of dirt so that you can fly through the air and land inside the town bar.
I mean, how else do you want a badass to get to a bar?
I want him to, to pull up in a cool fashion, or maybe avoid the kid, do a 180 spin, so that he actually ends up facing the correct way and parks his bike and gets off it. He takes what should be a clumsy instance where he almost crashes, but then turns it into something cool, which is not what Soldier does in this entire movie, because there's plenty of times where Soldier tries to do something cool and falls on his face.
Hey, Adrian, this bar scene goes on a little too long.
Oh, really? You mean the bar scene where we learn that the table that Soldier crashed into 2 seconds earlier actually belongs to a guy named the Dentist, and the whole reason why he's the Dentist is because he was a bad seed, and anytime he gets in a fight, he likes to steal people's teeth as a souvenir and wears them around the neck. And the way that we find this out is because there's two drunk guys at the bar who out of nowhere start having a discussion about this guy's name.
Yeah, that's exactly that.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about the same one.
Yeah.
And we're also talking about the same bar scene that takes like 2 minutes setting up who this guy is. The fact that everybody in the bar knows Soldier and knows that his name is Soldier while this guy's walking over to him, just so they can have an excuse to turn the movie into a Hal Needham film for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's the one. This, like, it's such a long bar fight. It's so long. And it's like, if it had, like, stakes in what the plot of the film was, maybe I wouldn't have been able to put up with it. But no, this is just, we've already established that he's a hothead who does violent things. We don't need a full-on brawl in a bar to establish this. It's an unnecessary scene.
Well, but we do, though, Scott, because we need to know that he's got plenty of witty one-liners. Like, so this is what happens when you breed a human with a tree. Or when he's getting ready to take his tooth later on, he says, "Say ah."
Of course. Because he finishes the bar fight by ripping out the guy's own tooth and then giving it to him.
Yes. But that doesn't end the scene because of the fact that right as he's getting ready to leave, there's Mexican Ron Jeremy who decides that he wants to get in a fight with from across the way. Now, this bar scene, though, did speak to me on a very special Phantom Zone level. Because we have two moments that enter our pantheon, which at some point we need to go back and make a supercut and put it online of all the times that we've had this happen. But I feel like it's special kismet that continually occurs in all these movies. Because at two points in this bar scene, we get mutilation of male junk.
Yeah, that's true. That's the Phantom Zone way. This time it's with a bottle.
No, it's two, because when he's first fighting the dentist, he reaches up and crushes his dick with his hand, and then they continue to fight. And then when he's trying to get in the fight with the Mexican guy, he starts throwing beer bottles at the guy. Hits away, and then it gets to the final two bottles. So he very slowly granny tosses a bottle up in the air, and while the guy's getting ready to hit that, he throws one straight at the guy's junk, causing him to fall over.
And then the other bottle hits him.
Two in like 5 seconds. So he defeats.
He's just punching the bottles, right? Like he's like
karate chopping.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He's waxing on and off. That's what it is.
It reminded me of the Indiana Jones scene when instead of fighting the last guy, he just shoots him. Except Snake Eater does it with bottles.
Basically.
So this movie is as good as Indiana Jones. You've heard it here.
No, that's not what we're saying at all. But Soldier goes over to the bar, and casually one of the police officers who knows that he goes by Soldier and who he is, tells him that he's got bad news, and it's that his family was killed, and that his sister has been kidnapped.
Well, they don't actually know that, right? Like,
I thought he told him that.
I thought he just said that, like, there appear to be no survivors.
No. Well, that's good detective work. That's your conclusion is there appears to be no survivors.
We found two bodies. We're missing one, so we're going to go ahead and say there's no survivors.
Yeah. But he knows that they were on a boat, and the boat, ended up catching on fire. So he goes to a marina, basically. It's basically just a dock, but it says marina on the side of it. To try to see if he can find out any information. And he meets the lovable King. King comes casually sauntering outside to talk to Soldier, and even has, the nice southern decency to offer him a swig out of his brown bag special that he's getting. And he ends up letting us know just a little bit about him by saying, I used to have a hog chopper, stripped down Harley, monkey bars in the front, big handles. Anyways, name's King.
That's it. I love King. I mean, he serves no purpose except he's just the helper mechanic of the film that is in like 2 scenes and then meets a tragic end. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I enjoy this interaction.
Yeah, King is incensed by the fact that soldiers trying to make it seem as if his boats were faulty. And King doesn't like it one bit. And then a phone rings, and King turns and he goes, "Who in the hell could that be?" And then just walks back into the house so that soldier can ask a couple guys that are coming up, who are the hillbillies, of course, if they happen to know any information about what happened to his family.
And so, because they are rational, smart human beings that don't want to shed any suspicion on themselves at all, they immediately see the picture of his sister and talk about how hot she is and how much they want to have sex with her.
And they lick the picture as well.
And they lick the picture. So it's not suspicious at all.
No. And of course that leads to them getting in a fight, because that's how soldier does.
Like you do, yeah.
But he's not very good in this fight for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because there's 3 people now, and that's not something that they taught him in the Marines.
It's too many.
Because they easily defeat him, and he's saved for a moment by King appearing out of the barn, house, whatever you want to call it, that's attached to the dock, riding the chopper, and just flies off the pier. He doesn't hit any of the guys or anything.
Anyone.
He just distracts them long enough for him to fly off into the water. And then a woman appears with a shotgun and just shoots into the air, basically, and is able to scare off the hillbillies. And she takes Soldier into her house. Turns out that her name is The Kid. And we're not told what her name is outside of that at any point. I don't think.
She's the love interest, apparently. The movie treats her as the love interest, even though we don't see her very much.
No, and there's no chemistry between the two of them.
No, not at all.
What goes for banter is just really awkward and painful to watch.
Yeah, well, so he gets knocked out, and he wakes up in her bedroom, and she's just gotten out of the shower, apparently. Now, Adrian, let's pretend you have an unconscious person laying in your bed. Would you choose that time to oil your legs and chest up in that room?
Scott, they're passed out. It's the only chance that you're going to have.
Can't do it in the bathroom.
Are you going to do it while they're awake?
I mean, there's other rooms. I guess, they are living in the Marina Shack, so maybe there aren't other rooms. We don't actually know.
And he says that he really needed that sleep. And she said, "You've only been out for about 10 to 15 minutes. To which he goes, "Oh, okay. Well then, I guess I'll take a nap. Wake me in 5 minutes." To which she goes outside and lets him sleep for an entire day just to be an asshole to him. In that day that he's out, for whatever reason, King has decided that he's going to completely destroy his Harley and attach it to a mini speedboat, and says a guy like Soldier would really respect a machine like this. And I'm just like, what the fuck have you done? You destroyed his motorcycle and attached it to this little speedboat, and then you very shittily spray painted it black.
And there are several other boats in the marina that he could have just given him. Did he have to destroy his motorcycle without asking?
And Soldier wakes up and comes downstairs in an even more 80s outfit than he was wearing before, because now he has decided that he's going to adorn himself in nothing but denim from top to bottom. I'm not talking like an overall onesie. I'm talking about he's wearing a denim shirt and, of course, denim pants, but he has no shirt on underneath his denim shirt.
It's the 80s, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's terrifying. We also learned that that not only is he able to make traps, but he can also make household bombs.
Out of chloride, pebbles, and water?
I thought he said it was calcium. It sounded like
calcium. Yeah, you're right. It is calcium. Calcium, pebbles, and water.
Calcium and gravel.
Gravel.
And they say, what is this supposed to be? And he goes, it's a bomb. And he opens up the jar, these jars that he just magically grabbed from somewhere and was like, there's some calcium over here. Here's some gravel. And then he puts water in it and puts it underneath the dock and just walks back and goes, just wait. And sure enough, there's a giant explosion. And so we know that he's really handy.
Now, I am not a scientist.
No.
But I don't think that works at all.
I'm not a scientist, and I'm pretty sure there would have been better materials around the house or, inside the tool shed or something that would work better than that. Because this guy's got all these tools, he's got all these boat parts and everything. He's got much better equipment to make explosive devices than calcium and gravel.
I'm also pretty sure a bomb whose catalyst is water would be very dangerous to carry on your boat.
Well, not only that, but he walks outside with only 3 of these and wastes one of them right away.
So here's where the movie kind of confuses me, because he's kind of very lackadaisical about this whole thing.
Yes.
When his sister has been kidnapped. And I don't know. I can't remember if the movie has actually told him that his sister has been kidnapped yet. Like, I know he's searching for her, but I don't, because if he
guesses, he doesn't know, but he guesses because he's sure, like when he comes down to the dock dressed all in denim, he makes a comment about the fact that he feels like those guys know more than they're saying, that the hillbillies.
Yeah.
And that's part of why he wants to go up there, basically.
So I feel like he needs, like, some alacrity to the situation, because, like, if you think your sister's kidnapped by rapey hillbillies, maybe you want to, like, hurry. I don't know.
Well, the reason that he knows
Call
this
the
is
police.
because he's read the script, Scott.
Oh, yeah, they gave that to him. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
That's how he knows, because the movie continually jumps back for absolutely no reason and for long stretches of time to interject us into this family of hillbillies. Like, there's way, way, way too many times throughout the course of the film that they jump back to Junior and his crew.
Yeah.
And you see his weird sister who is in love with Junior and doesn't want anybody to do anything with him, so she naturally hates the sister. There's the creepy hillbilly guy who brings her water because we don't have one of them fancy showers, as he puts it. And then he goes around the back of the shed to prepare to jack off to her taking a shower, which is dissolved by Junior coming up and getting mad at him. But we just spend way too much time with them. I mean, there's that period of time where we see them overnight, like cooking at a campfire and carrying on a conversation just with these hillbillies for no reason.
I would say that the hillbillies get more characterization than Soldier does.
Absolutely.
We spend more time with them. And it seems like the movie's going out of its way to make us sympathetic to them at times.
I don't know if we'd say that. I mean, we know some of their perverted hopes and dreams. I don't know why, but they make sure to let us know what they want out of life. They're not going to get those things, and usually those things do involve rape and murder. But we know that they do have, I guess you could say, desires.
So the other thing is their shack. I don't know if you noticed this, but there's very clearly like a much bigger house behind the shack.
I think it's a barn.
That they're really, I mean, I don't know what it is, but they're trying very hard to not let you see that, because they're trying to pretend like this is in the middle of the woods somewhere. It obviously is not. So every angle of the shack that they live in is very carefully and deliberately picked to hide this stuff. But you can tell they're in like a suburb somewhere, and there's just a heavily wooded suburb.
We go back to Soldier, who's riding up river until he hits absolutely nothing and goes flying into the air.
Yeah, the boat just like stops.
You can't. Yeah, it just stops and he flies forward. Like, I couldn't tell if it was like a fishing wire or something was up, but they referred to it as a log trap, even though there's no log that's visible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's just but that wouldn't break the boat. Like,
no.
Even if it hit it from the front, then he like gets into the water and then like pulls the boat to shore as if the boat's broken now. So now I have to go on foot. Even though later in the movie he's back on the boat, and they never show him fix the boat.
No,
this is a bad movie, guys.
They do show that when he goes into the forest, that he does set up several different traps, like a demented grown-up Kevin McAllister meets MacGyver, but he doesn't know where the guys are yet. Like, he doesn't know where the redneck's location is, but just around his base camp, he's decided to put these up. At the same time, what feels like 15 minutes later, King decides that he's going to come upriver and find Soldier because he wants to show him that he really does know how to throw down.
The whole geography of this area is very confusing to me, because the movie seems to make it pretty clear that Soldier spends hours like boating upriver.
Yeah.
And then suddenly King is there. I mean, it's nighttime now, but he's apparently right around the corner. He's also just in the middle of the woods somewhere, drunk, of course, because he's King. I don't understand where everything is in this movie. No.
And shortly after he shows up, you also have the kid starts going upriver to try to find where King is. So you have your three people who are supposed to be kind of a team who all end up in the same place, even though they all went at separate times. So it doesn't make sense why you even had them split up to begin with.
Yeah, just like, here, watch this. I need to borrow one of your boats to go upriver. I don't trust you with my boat. We're going with you. Boom.
There you go. That's perfect.
Fixed it.
But I guess they have to have King go up there on his own, so he gets killed by a bear. But it turns out that it's not a bear. It's actually Junior wearing a bear's arm so he can kill people with the claw.
And making very realistic bear noises. He's pretty good at the bear noise.
Yes, he's fantastic at the bear noises.
This has been so weird, because like throughout the entire movie, like in the many cutbacks to the hillbillies, Junior's always like, the bear's gonna come get him. And like, it's obvious that he's the bear. Like, it's kind of played as a reveal, but it's obviously not.
But it also makes it like it should be a setup for a really, really bad comic book movie. Like that's his villain name, is he puts this on and it becomes the bear.
And it never comes up again. This is it.
No. He wears it for like the scene, and that's it. He's still he isn't wearing it later on, but he still refers to himself as the bear. So Kit ends up joining up with what's his face?
Soldier.
With Soldier, and because they're idiots, they very easily get caught by Junior. Junior decides to take them and put them in their sleeping bag, high up off the ground, with rags over their faces, because he wants to use the sleeping bag to sweat out the water from their body. And then once they're just dehydrated enough, the bear is going to come along and kill them.
So Junior is like a Bond villain. This doesn't make any sense. But the sad part is, like, it was gonna work. If it wasn't for creepy hillbilly that comes back, like, they couldn't get out. Well, they were stuck.
There would have been some way that Soldier probably would have, because of the fact that before he leaves, Junior goes up to Soldier and says, "Hey, big man, let me leave you with this thought. I'm going to go back to the house and screw your sister."
Which, again, at this point, we don't actually know, our character doesn't actually know that they have kidnapped his sister.
Yeah.
So they just told him, like, these are the worst bad guys ever.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, they go back to the house where the sister's being kept while they've got this other hillbilly who is thinking about raping Kit, just because that's basically all these hillbillies do. But they've got the sister hillbilly is given a gun to watch over Soldier's sister. And because this girl is completely obsessed with loving her brother, she decides that she's going to try to kill the sister.
Of course. Because this is weird.
It just, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. And they end up, Kit ends up being able to get free enough to try to grab the knife from the hillbilly brothers that's trying to rape her. And I didn't exactly understand, like, the physics and the direction, because
it doesn't make any sense.
He's holding a knife, like in his hands, because she is trying to stab him. Like, she gets free, has his knife, and is trying to stab the guy. So he puts his hands on the knife and he's holding it, and she is trying to pull it out of his hand. She lets go of the knife, and somehow
he stabs himself.
He stabs himself, even though it's partially out of one of his hands to begin with. So somehow he falls back, and the force is strong enough to shoot the knife through his hands and stab him deep enough in the chest to kill him instantly.
Instantly dead. Instantly. It doesn't make any sense. It's it's poorly shot. It's confusing. Like, the composition of the shot is not clear, and it's just stupid. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's a bad movie to begin with, but I saw this, and it bothered me. It bothered me for the rest of the movie, because I was trying to do the mental gymnastics to find out how that's. It did, because I was trying to figure out. I'm just like, okay, maybe if there was enough force, maybe it could slip through his hands, and it would stab him in the chest. But we're also talking about the area where it is. They're implying that it's like stabbing him in the heart, but his rib cage is there, and if it's like close to like the sternum area, it's going to have to be even more of an impact to get that far in to kill him instantly.
I mean, I think you're thinking about this too much.
Well, yeah, because they wanted it to be a cool kill, but still, your cool kills have to make sense. At this point, the Canucksploitation decides, you know what, we really need to go full on Rambo, and they have him.
The third act of this movie is.
Oh man, what he's getting ready, and he's putting on the bandana, and the last piece that he puts on is his shirt that's a snake eater, but he takes the Bowie knife that he has and does a very light shave of his face.
Again, they have just told him they are heading back to their house to rape his sister, and he's like, I think I got time for a shave.
But the angle that he does it at, it looks like he could have easily just sliced his face off. And you're like, oh.
Yes. Also, in the next scene, his facial hair does not look markedly changed at all. So
in the next scene, when he's creeping up to the cabin to try to save his sister, he gets caught in a bear trap. Like, he takes 5 steps because he's trying to crouch. He goes up close, and then he's in a bear trap.
And then the movie turns into a gun battle.
just everyone shooting continually. Like, I actually give them a couple points for the fact that Soldier does reload his gun a couple times, but
nobody else does.
No one else does. And it's also like a bad video game because there's just like an endless number of hillbillies. Like they've already killed like 3 or 4 of the hillbillies that we were introduced to, but when Junior and his brother are going up to try to kill him, there's 2 more random hillbillies.
Yeah, he said he's gonna go. He said he's gonna go get his uncle. So it's his uncle or something.
But then who's the other guy? Because the other guy hasn't been introduced. It's the uncle and this other guy that show up with.
They needed more fodder. They needed him to kill more people.
Oh, it just continually. And I even wrote, I wrote, why does the number of hillbillies seem to grow exponentially as the film goes on?
Because they multiply when they sleep in their own family very quickly. They're like rabbits.
The uncle I loved because he says, "Let's go slow and careful." So they walk very slowly up to the hut and then just open the door and stand directly in front of it so that they can both be shot instantly. It's like, well, you did great with the slow part. You weren't exactly too careful.
Yeah, like every one of these hillbillies performs like you would expect a hillbilly to perform against a professionally trained former Marine snake eater. But Junior puts up a fight. Because he puts up like a super villain.
He puts up a fight because we need to hear more of the slow Casio music that's on another loop. I wanted to punch the TV basically.
These cheap bad movies and their terrible soundtracks just drive me crazy.
It sounded like a song couldn't continue, like back in the day when you had a CD and if you were walking or if it would hit certain things, it would vibrate a little bit, then it would skip a whole bunch of times. That's what the music sounded like in this gun battle. It's just a 5-second piece of music just continually on a loop.
It's wonderful.
So they magically basically decide that they've run out of bullets and they end up fighting in hand-to-hand combat. And while they're wrestling around on the ground, one of the brothers is coming up on a tractor, he gets shot and falls off, and Soldier's sister, for whatever reason, starts running towards the tractor like she's going to get on it to move it out of the way so that it doesn't kill her brother, but instead she ends up just falling on the ground watching it drive off. Soldier rolls out of the way so that Junior's head is completely destroyed.
And again, we get a very good sound effect for that doesn't sound realistic at all.
The squishing and like tearing of paper.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just like took like a cantaloupe and squished it.
Yes, and then they proceed to kill the little shack that was right there, yeah. and make it. But they shoot it like with like the brilliance that you would if you were watching a building being, demolished, like when they implode and everything. Like they show it in slow motion from like 4 different angles, this really tiny shack.
Yeah, it's almost like the big explosion at the end of the movie, except nothing explodes. It's just a tractor driving through a cheap, shitty shack.
Which, again, the sister could have easily, just gotten rid of.
Yeah.
So a helicopter randomly
is suddenly there. No explanation.
To save them. I don't know if the kid or somebody end up calling it in.
She's in it, so I guess so.
But they're all saved, and we cut to a car in the middle of nowhere, and then suddenly we see, oh hey, wouldn't you know it, there's Larry Zonka and his detective friend. They're just sitting there. Clearly, this is in the future. It's another stakeout, and he ends up the homeless guy comes by a second, and you go, hey, does anybody have a quarter for a cup of coffee? And once again, he's already done peeing in the cup, so he gives it to him. And in the weirdest moment that somebody in the movie decided this is exactly how we should decide to get close to wrapping up the film, the homeless guy says, wait a second, I remember you guys. You're not going to get me again. This time I brought my own sugar.
So he drank the pee?
He drank the pee the first time.
And just thought it needed sugar. Yes,
because the pee, he thought that the coffee tasted like pee because it was missing sugar.
It's a really great joke there.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Fantastic. And then we get one of the greatest things, at least to me, in the movie, because not only is Soldier back in his element, but he's got a new bad guy to face. And the bad guy is played by none other than Ron Palillo. Ron Palillo is famously known as Horshack from Welcome Back, Kotter, where John Travolta basically got his start. He's known because he's the one who raised his hand and would go, ooh, ooh, ooh. He's also known as, unfortunately, being one of the reasons why Jason comes back in Friday the 13th, Part 6. So seeing him in this made me very excited, even though he was terrible as the firebug, basically, who is named Torchy.
And again, Adrian, this scene goes on a little too long. This is supposed to be just the capper on the end of the film, and it's like almost a 10-minute scene.
Okay, he basically plots to torture this guy, to get a confession out of him, and has like a 3 to 5 minute little monologue that he's given the guy.
And then he pulls an unwrapped condom out of his jacket pocket. Why did he have that in there?
I don't try to question anything that Soldier does.
He also has a candle in his pocket. So he just carries around a candle and an unwrapped condom just in case he'll need them for an elaborate firebug trap with lighter fluid.
Well, and then while he's talking to him, he just throws out a whole bunch of one-liners. Like it looks like he's just trying them out. Like they just kept the camera rolling because he says like 4 or 5 different one-liners at once and pauses in between them. Like he's expecting the camera to cut in between it, and just I don't
know. It's awesome. I don't know,
and I don't care. He gets Torchy to confess, and the movie ends with one of the greatest end credit sequence songs of all time.
And we're definitely going to play that for you because we have it. So it'll be at the end of the episode.
We have to.
Mwah. Oh, it's so good.
It's infectious. Did you notice one of the brilliant moments in the credits?
No. What happened?
Lorenzo Lamas did all his own stunts.
Holy shit.
They are pathetic stunts, but he felt it was important enough to get thrown around like a rag doll in this movie. You
mean he was the one that jumped off the jet ski when it quote-unquote hit something in the water?
Yep. He's the one who does the backflip.
Amazing.
The backflip into the bar that breaks the table. That was him.
Wow. That's cool.
that fits it perfectly. That fits it perfectly. I don't know if there's a way to do this, but we're at the point now where we would try to say how we'd fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Make it shorter. Make these scenes not go on for as long as they do. Make the plot clearer.
As terrible as it is, it clearly is because of the way that it's shot and the way so many things happen in the movie. It does fit the exploitation genre, and because it fits in that exploitation genre, there's not a lot that you'd expect them to do better because it fits those molds, and because it's stupid enough and it thinks it's being clever, it adds to the so bad it's good charm of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like this movie. I mean, it's not good, but I think you're right. It's exploitation. It's fun. I don't know. I don't fix it. It's just watch it.
There you go. The movie did well enough that there's actually 2 sequels out there. Further down the line, we will probably try to find an excuse to watch them, I'd say. Would you be up for that, Scott?
I don't think we need an excuse. I think we need to watch these movies immediately.
If I need... I know you're saying that I don't need a reason to hook you, but I will still reel you in even more. And that part of the plot of the second movie involves him breaking out of a mental institution.
I mean, that's amazing. And I can totally believe why he would be in a mental institution.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. At some point between this movie and that movie, the police decided, okay, you're completely crazy and insane. We're going to have you institutionalized, which kind of, makes the police really good in the situation. That's not normally the way they handle these situations. Maybe that's a Canadian thing. I don't know.
It could be. The sub title of the film is The Drug Buster. So yeah. I'm pretty in.
Yeah. I mean, hey, snake eaters got to eat.
If he's not going to eat any snakes in that movie, I bet you anything he won't eat any snakes.
What if that's a part of his therapy,
To eat snakes?
I don't know.
Holy shit. Have you seen what the third movie's called?
No, but I know the plot of it.
It's called Snake Eater 3, His Law. That's it.
In the third one, he's hired by a group of people because their daughter or sister has been kidnapped and has possibly been raped.
What is it with movies like this and rape? Like, I mentioned that to you where, like, these movies are obsessed with, you always have to put rape on the table as peril to make the hero motivated.
Well, I think for the audience, partly it's because it's such a despicable act, it's getting you on the side of completely disliking the characters that are involved with that side of it, and that whoever the hero is, you're going to be rooting for them even more because you have such a heinous act. It's the same idea in lots of the exploitation films when you have people who are just mercilessly tortured. I guess you're dehumanizing the evil people so that they're just the embodiment of that type of evil, and because that type of evil is heinous in everyone's mind, it makes it easier to say, "Oh, you're a piece of shit. I want this person to do bad things to you."
Yeah, I mean, it's just look, it's lazy writing. That's what I'm
no, but at the same time, we're talking about the exploitation genre where the majority of your movies are between like an hour and 15 to an hour and 25 minutes. It's the easiest way for them to get across this person's in a really bad situation. These people are absolute shit. Somebody needs to come and save them. And they don't have to spend other time on it. This one's weird because it spends so much of the runtime with the hillbilly characters. And while they are lecherous and at some point they're going to rape, they're not doing it right away, which is I mean, I guess it's good that they don't do that, but it sets the movie apart because you don't get that. Usually in other movies that are like this, if you're spending time with those characters, it's while they might not be raping that main character, they've got other people that they're raping and mutilating and doing drugs with. And this movie doesn't have it because it's got the campfire dinner scene.
Of course, it's got to make room for that. You need that scene. It's pivotal.
So, is there anything that stood out to you as like superbly great, or was just like the worst thing you've ever seen?
I love the bookends on this film. I love the opening scene and I love the ending scene.
The stings.
I think they're the strongest parts of the movie, and I kind of wish that was the movie we got. It's just more of that. Like, I enjoyed this movie, but I really do think the main portion of it is the weakest part, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, maybe with the sequel, that's why they have it seem like drug busting is a larger motivating factor of it. I don't know. Yeah. I love that end song. That's the part that sticks with me.
Do you know the tagline for this movie is, to him, America is just another jungle.
I didn't know that one. I knew the other one that was dirtier than Dirty Harry, more dangerous than Deliverance.
Okay, but he's in a jungle the entire time, so the tagline doesn't make any sense. Like, maybe like they're saying, the streets of America are like his jungle. But no, he's just in a jungle. Or a forest, I guess. It's a Canadian forest. But
I also love them directly ripping off of the famous shot from, or a combination of Rambo and then I think it's one of the Missing in Action movies where he emerges from the water with the gun over his head.
Oh yeah, and like they didn't even try to hide that was a rip-off shot. Like they were they wanted you to think of that shot.
It was just so great, and then he doesn't use the gun at that.
No,
point.
Never. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's time for the vote. Scott, do you vote guilty or not guilty?
You know, not guilty. Short answer. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this film. I do think it's not good. I do think there are problems with it, but I think it does fall into that so bad it's good category.
Yeah.
It's campy and weird and funny. And I can't wait to watch the sequels. So, yeah, not guilty.
I agree. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say not guilty. Once again, we do put that whole caveat that we don't really know anything about these movies. We would prefer not to get so bad it's good movies, but you know, it makes this process more fun when you do stumble across something that could be called a gem like this. So yeah, I have to say not guilty. This movie's safe. I want everybody to watch it, and like I said, it's on Vudu for free. There's a couple little commercials that are just from Vudu.
It was just the 2 Vudu commercials over and over again.
But that's it. And each time they pop up, it's like 30 seconds and then they're done and you're back.
Yeah, it's pretty. So, I mean, it's not bad at all. Free movie.
No. So see it. We suggest it. Like I said, I scan a whole bunch of different video streaming sites so to know what movies we want to do in the future. I wasn't planning to do this week, but I saw Lorenzo Lamas and I'm like, I got to do it. 80s Lorenzo Lamas, got to do it. So, you know, I apologize for heart beeps. We'll do it next week because we're trying to get everything locked down for the next couple weeks. I'm going out of town in about 3 weeks, and in March we want to do all part 3s for March. That's all we're going to do. Bad part 3 movies. We've got a cool guest signed up for one of those weeks, so I'm quite excited. So we got to get heart beeps in next week because we're not going to have room for it for a little bit.
Might I suggest Snake Eater 3?
Possibly. We might be able to do that.
Let's just do them out of order, because the order,
sure.
I mean, what does it matter?
Why not?
It doesn't
Why
matter.
not? Scott, where can we find you?
I can be found on Twitter at ScottDaly85. That's DALY. I also write movie reviews and essays at my website, dalyplanetfilms.com. I'm currently at the very beginning of a project that I'm going to take all year on, which is I'm going to watch every single movie on BBC's list of the 100 best movies of the 21st century and write a little about them. So I've done 2 so far. I just watched the next one on the list, which is the movie Carlos. It's about Carlos the Jackal, the terrorist that was all over Europe for like 20 years. It's like a 5.5 hour quote-unquote miniseries movie. It was pretty good. So that's what I'll be doing. You can find that at dalyplanetfilms.com.
All right. And I can be found on Twitter at Adrian Torres. At the same time, I have reviews and news articles up on boomhowdy.com and downrightcreepy.com. I am going to be finishing up shortly here with my review of 50 Shades Darker, which was a painful experience.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that wasn't
I know.
good.
I thought that I was gonna love it. You know, that very, very lonely mid-30s to mid-50s Midwestern female inside me. It wanted to love it.
Well, okay.
Okay, on behalf of Scott and myself, we will see you guys next time.
I don't listen to fate. I'm a cold soul survivor, and I've been known not to wait. In a land of confusion, no one's ready to face. If it's love that you're after, then you're in the wrong place, baby. Soldier. Soldier, where's your sister? Can you hear her helpless cries? The only light to guide you now is a fire in your eyes. Soldier.